Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. It's such a great day to have everyone today, and we are having a great topic, and I can't wait to discuss it with you all. And we want to say thank you to everybody that gave us some great feedback because they were sharing the flyer. They want to learn more. So today we're going to talk about homeschooling on the spectrum. So, according to the US Census data, the number of Black households homeschooling their children jumped from 3.3%, guys, in the spring of 2020 to over 16% by the fall of that year. So, that increase was the largest of any racial group. So a lot of the education expert, what they're saying about that, the reason of it's because more family are turning toward homeschooling. It's because of disappropriation of discipline against Black students, lack of access to gifted program, and overall safety concern can all play a factor as can curating a curriculum for a child individual needs. So we see a big jump, and one thing that we want to make sure on Black Autism Coalition that we address our families that are having children on the spectrum. The reason of that, it's because we want to know. We have a lot of our parents that want to take a look on the other side of being in the school. Nothing wrong about having your children in school. That's not what we're going to talk about. But we want to hear about a mom's experience. So I'm not going to take a long time, but I just want to let you know this live is going to be both in Haitian Creole and also in English. The reason of that is because we have a lot of our Haitian families as well. We want to make sure they are connected and they are able to do this. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour tout le monde. Non pas c'est Cynthia et c'est fondatrice Black Autism Coalition. Et nous allons parler aujourd'hui de plus ça qui est les homeschooling. Homeschooling, c'est côté que wap bay ti moun nan leçon la caille, OK? Ou a fait tout ça l'école là supposé faire en dedans la caille. Nous connaît grand pile famille qui suivre nous tout partout et nous va faire émission en créole et aussi en anglais. Pour qui raison nous faire la deux langues parce que nous gagnons deux langues cap suivre nous et nous voulons sûr que tout joine tout bagaille. So pas prendre pile temps pour me traduire tout bagaille que me gagne mais une bagaille que me dire ensemble avec famille noire yo. Nous ouais que en pile là de prendre décision pour yo capable faire l'école là avec ti moun yo avant le à 3.3% et c'était dans printemps 2020, il monté jusqu'à 16% dans automne 2000 dans même automne ça so sorti dans printemps dans automne 3.3% monté jusqu'à 16%. So nous ouais son on monté qui large en pile dans tout groupe racial qui vient river et puis en pile dans monde qui c'est expert dans l'éducation, dit raison pour ça, c'est parce qu'en pile dans famille yo ouais discipline que apprend contre ti moun qui noir yo et puis ti moun yo gen moins accès avec programme qui capable gen plus ti moun gen plus cadeau bon côté pa yo et puis gon parole de sécurité nous ouais ça en pile ensemble avec et l'autre moun yo. So, j'aime de l'amba pour un peu de temps, so nous pourrons passer. We're gonna pass down to our co-host. We have Evelyn that's here. Hi, Evelyn. Such a pleasure to have you here. Ma beau petit moment pour capable passer et introduire tout. You're gonna introduce yourself, and right after, we're gonna bring our guest speaker here. Oh, Evelyn, you're on mute.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. Saturday morning, we are glad to be with you. We're going to talk like homeschooling. Bon, fait partie créole. Nous avons pile parents en Haïti, communauté noire, mais nous avons pas un pile parents qui vivent en Haïti, qui attendent nous aujourd'hui. Et l'homme te partagé flyer, te gan pile parents en Haïti qui contacté qui ça homeschooling là. Et parents là parler, nous toujours connaît c'est une bagay, nous toujours dit tête mais simté en Haïti mais qui option m't'a choisi parce que spécialement ces dernières 3 années nous qu'a dit en Haïti, gen parents qui capable mais qui style pas gen accès à l'école à cause de situation insécurité et tout. Et me toujours conseiller même de jeunes, bon jeune t'a pas la véritablement moins vraiment dire compliment parce que l'employé système ça l'en sens que li aider ti moun sou quartier pendant l'école fermée li même li bon la mathématique li éduquer en mathématique et me toujours penser tant tout à l'heure inviter nous on t'a font ti parler pas gen meilleur rien que parents même meilleur professeur tout donc et moi penser homeschooling li on bagay c'est une option pour parents qui vivent en Haïti, un choix pour parents qui vivent en Haïti pas négliger parce que si que ou pas gain accès à l'éducation à cause de l'insécurité, à cause de gang, kidnapping et tout, pour qu'ils soient pas formés tête ou éduqués, petit ou bay petit ou éducation la kay ou. Et nous connaissons nous gon l'autre partie en Haïti, gen un pile parent tout qui pas peut-être gon instruction assez élevée pour ta fait ça, mais pour qui ça si nous voulons mettre sens communauté peut-être un monde sous quartier hein, qui gen instruction li formé et autisme favonay là pour supporter nous l'entraining and then nous faire peut-être c'est quand un voisin tout monde réunion ta ka faire le sa ti moun yo pas arrêter y a tant que situation rangée pour aller à l'école. Donc son choix encore m'a dit son choix très important spécialement pour parents en Haïti ou pas négliger pour ti moun yo pas arrêter sans éducation. Thank you for having me, Sisi.
So you say all these things in Creole and then you just say thank you.
Well, Sisi is the interpreter today.
So we thank you guys so much and please share. Because if you know a Haitian family, just like Evelyn has mentioned in Haitian Creole, so she has mentioned how the need of homeschooling is in our country in Haiti, because we see a lot of parents don't have access due to the way the country is. And one thing that she had mentioned, I'm going to resume everything being said, it's the need of finding different resources, because the children, imagine there's kids that hasn't been in school for 2 years and parents don't know where to go left to right. And Evelyn, I know you do a wonderful job as far as like getting on WhatsApp with them, getting in front of the Zoom just to teach them some skills so that way their children are not left out. So we appreciate that. But one thing I caught in all the stuff that you were saying is just making sure we all work together as a community for the best of our children. So I'm not going to take a long time because I know our guest, she has taken the time out of her day, Natasha Flowers. Even though you guys hear the flowers, she is 100% Haitian, right?
I'm a Damas, Natasha Damas. Bonjour
Natasha
to the
Damas. So we are so glad to have you. I'm not gonna, because I know the best person to introduce themselves is the person itself. And I know sometimes, like, you know, I sent out already on Facebook so people get to know you, but at least I want to give them, you know, you, so you can say who you are. A lot of people's like, oh, Natasha Flowers, who's Natasha Flowers, let me find out. And she's wonderful. And for, I'm gonna put her TikTok, please follow her on TikTok because she's doing a wonderful job, especially you parents that want to learn more about homeschooling. Is just a way to, you can connect and then also reach out to her. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, she has so many parents that do the same. So Natasha, I'm giving it up to you to talk.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Natasha Damas. Flowers came from my husband when I married. I am Haitian through and through. Both my parents, they came here, and I am a mother to a 10-year-old son, Creole Moi Pas Blanc, so they're going to help with the translation. He is 10. We started homeschooling 5 years ago. And during that time, we've learned so much. And I started the social media so that I could just kind of reach parents who didn't believe that they could do it, or if that homeschooling wasn't an option. We'll get into the reasons why we chose homeschooling, but it wasn't a decision that was just instantly made. We fell into it because of a lot of the reasons that was stated by Cynthia previously. And so it is just a beautiful morning to be with you guys. And thank you so much for joining us and for listening and learning. Do I need to speak more? So for the people who are here, I'll just get into the many different reasons why we chose homeschooling and how many things we've learned along the way. My son has grown tremendously. We work on social emotional things. And as he grows, like I was saying earlier to Evelyn, that we have learned more about ourselves as parents than we have learned about him or that he had learned. So it's going to be important for you guys to gather whatever information and make formal decisions based on what you want to do and what you want your homeschool to look like. Your homeschool can look like anything you choose.
Awesome. We thank you, Natasha. And I know, Evelyn, I had to step away for a little bit just so I can do some logistic in the back. But before we even get started, and I know you had mentioned that on your TikTok a lot, the reason why you went towards the homeschooling. And I can see when I see that video, and I posted it in our page to anybody that want to go and look at it. And you could see like how you were holding back all these tears as
Yeah.
a mom. I'm like, I know she wants to cry because you know we
I
all
cried.
do
It took me 20 minutes to film that. I
that.
wouldn't stop crying, and I said I wouldn't be that mom crying on the internet. So I gathered it together enough to film that, and then cried for a day after.
Yep. So let's take us a little bit towards that beginning of that journey. Like, what made you do that switch? And I remember one thing that you said. You said, I visualize myself as this soccer mom, as this mom that will go make cupcakes,
Mhm.
turn around. I know it was a big transition for yourself and also for your family.
Absolutely. He started off in preschool. Preschool was a great experience. Preschool was the time that he was social. He was just like a social butterfly, and he was rambunctious. But also during this time at 3.5, he was beginning the process of being evaluated for autism. And at 3.5, he was diagnosed. And so leaving preschool, which was not so formal, heading into the first IEP meeting of kindergarten, they just kind of dismissed everything, all of his needs. They didn't feel he required anything. They gave him a score on his matrix score that was so low in terms of so low support needs that they didn't want to supply speech, OT,
Wow.
therapies of any kind, no extra supports, no one-to-one, nothing. So essentially, I was going to drop him off to this place where he would spend 6 hours a day with no help. And I knew how much help he needed. And so that transition was catastrophic. He became so anxious. He never slept through the night ever. He wouldn't eat. He was just on edge all the time. And when I tried to petition for my insurance to cover an aid for him to attend school with him 3 times a week, first of all, I had to fight the insurance 3 times. And when I finally got her to attend school with him, they treated her horribly. They used her with other children. They tried to get her to run errands in the office.
Wow.
It was
And
just
this is someone that was hired for your son.
from his insurance,
Wow.
because the school wouldn't provide a thing. So from his insurance to fight them 3 times to finally achieve this thing that almost no parents can achieve because it's that difficult, only to have them dismiss her, treat her terribly, and use her in every other aspect of the day, just constantly remove her from the classroom every chance they got. And after several situations, but the thing that was happening is that he was familiar with her. She was actually his preschool teacher.
Mm.
She had fallen in love with him so much that she left preschool teaching in order to get her certification in ABA, just so she could be his specific therapist. And so him coming out of his shell a bit, whispering to her, but he had already developed selective mutism and wasn't speaking to the entire classroom or the teacher. So when they saw that he was whispering to her and they had this relationship, they found it inappropriate. They found that it was non-compliance, that it was behavioral, that he was intentionally ignoring them. And so that's when we get into what we talk about with the, when certain things start to fly, like accusations of maybe conduct disorders, the kinds of labels that will stick with little Black autistic boys. When you start getting into that realm, you know that you're going to head into the prison pipeline system. And so for them not to kind of acknowledge his anxieties, but acknowledge behaviors rather, was the issue for me. but he was doing work with her. He was doing well with her. But in our next IEP meeting, I was made to sit down and listen to how it is disruptive for her to be in the classroom. They felt like she was maybe a spy sent by me to gather information that I don't know what it was. It till this day it blows my mind. It's one of the hardest thing I've ever experienced because I expected to work as a team to facilitate his needs in order to help him grow. And that's not the experience I got. So, like we said on our phone call previously, parts of me still feels cheated for him not having those experiences because it really was important for me to have. So, homeschooling really happened when his self confidence was completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
He was a shell of himself. He developed horrible anxiety and selective mutism where he stopped speaking outside the home. And on that last incident on the video, if you'll go watch, you will see that it has taken us all 5 years to recover what was lost in just 6 months of kindergarten.
Wow.
Not gonna cry.
Well, it's okay. And it's okay if you cry. Evelyn cries all the
Okay.
time. She's a crybaby, but I appreciate you share your story. But I just wanted to with everything that you said, resume that in Haitian Creole. My friend Evelyn is not helping me out. Evelyn, where are you? I
Um,
I know the parents are just asking her a bunch of questions because they're like, "M'pa kompren sa k'ap di a la."
Exactement, m'attendais et puis m'a parlé à l'autre parent. Par exemple, il y a un jeune homme qui te fait ça déjà en Haïti, côté sous zone parle, li éduqué de Timoun. L'homme te partagé flyer, jodi an, li intéressé fait ça, mais li sous groupe là, mais m'voye dire que caméra amicale ces messages ça gen pas connecté faut connecter pour qu'a gen accès donc m'te on déjà parlé avec l'autre parent tout ça m'ta ka résumé pour yo from the beginning Natasha expliqué difficulté que li te gagné le malgré que petit te gon ti on moun que petit la habitué moun nan malgré là pour certification et billet pour accompagner ti moun dans l'école pas trouver ça d'un bon œil et le comportement parce que nous connaît gen ti moun qui gen autisme yo k'ap parler avec une voix qui lolo ça arrive ka petit moi ou du moins gen de le c'est whisper c'est chuchoter tant que ti moun ap chuchoter donc ti moun et Natasha qui était habitué avec thérapie ça c'est comme ça il te comporté le ouais ça l'école nan bay toutes qualité étiquette qui gagne non compliance comportement ça pas bon et que même une sorte de paranoïa que peut-être madame ça c'est quand espion qui vient garder ça l'école l'a fait et tout ça donc qui montrait ou tout frustration on parent qu'a gagné que tant qu'on dit un petit moun à l'école l'aller combien de temps l'école et puis pas gagner rien qu'à régler. Donc, c'était un peu l'embagage ça yo, bien tout l'embagage ça yo qui te fait le choisi homeschooling. Donc, si, par contre, qu'il soit ajouté le résumé, m'di.
Merci. Et pour ajouter, pour tout le monde qui attendait, et une bagay, il dit que lui-même, il devait un maman qui te mène un petit l'école pour te capable aller et ouais petit la cap jouer football par exemple pour reprendre petit monde ça tout là que et ici pas bon ici à l'étranger ça compte venir nous n'avons pas qu'on fait et des choses sucrées pour porter petit monde yo tout bagay ça lui-même c'est ça le devait mais dans l'école là et pas ça qui t'a passé et comme on parent tout les nous ouais que il y a des séries de bails qui pas bien marché nous prend décision et Jean-Yves te ajouter ça fait que li te gen un professeur a tellement aimé ti moun nan là il prend classe et puis en classe de comportement pour capable aider ti moun nan mais ça qui vient arriver c'est que yo vinn wel qu'on un espion parce que la PD li pour qui ça parce que connaît gon bagay qui pas fait bien yo connaît et ti moun nan vinn rive un côté que li ka parler mais il choisit et ça le selective mutism nan il choisit les pour parler à qui moun pour parler et ça te vinn rive tout même hors de la caille so we say thank you to you, Natasha, for sharing the story, because this is very personal. And like I said, it's okay to cry. Don't worry. We all do here. But I can see how hurtful it was for your family. And, every parents, all they want to do is help their children. They want their children to have the best education. They want their children to be helped with the sensory issues, behavioral issue. That's the whole point in there. Take us how the journey started, because I don't know really, as far as like, were you a teacher before, how how this is all.
No.
I know you have worked in the past with individual on the
Yes.
spectrum, so that
Yes.
had given you that experience. However, when it comes to academics, we got to go way back. Where are the things that we learned? We got to go to, and our children, there are different curriculum for them. It's not the same as a typical child. So take us a little bit how it's all started, and then we'll go back to the
Okay.
next will be
Yes.
you know
So
your day goes every day. I know you mentioned, so you only work some days, but I just wanted you to be aware of the next questions as well too.
yes. So I have no formal teaching background at all. I worked with individuals on the autism spectrum that were adults. These were about 40 to 60 plus year olds. And so seeing the older end of it was eye opening for me, because I got to interact with the parents. I got to see what they did, what they didn't do. I got to see what they chose and what life looks like, what we call beyond the cliff. We know that the school system will have them up until the age of maybe 22, and then their supports diminish by insane amounts. And so I got to see the other end of the cliff. I got to see where the parents were now aging and unable to care for them, where siblings are now caring for them, where they are possibly in group homes with other family members. And this is all before I even became pregnant with my son.
Wow.
So that was almost like God was preparing me, if you'd like to translate that part.
Bon, m'ajoute ke Sisi mande Natasha ke eske l te gon preparasyon avan lan edukasyon ou bien lan terapi, li di non at all, bien ke l travay a lot moun peut-être adulte ki gen bezwen spesyal, et li di sa important, c'était bien avant que l'enceinte de petite li. So, Natasha dit kon sa, c'est ça fait le penser que peut-être bon Dieu t'a préparé pour ça, pour te vin homeschool petite li. Sisi?
Oui, merci, moi, mais Evelyn, oui. Evelyn, bon, moitié, et puis tout l'aller.
Non, moi fè résumé. Faut me dire nous que désolé moun kap tande parce que m'a interact à deux parents ou bien avec de l'autre moun en Haïti qui besoin monter et nous connaît comment situation internet en Haïti, but yo de jeunes qui très intéressés à dupliquer avec approche qui gagne Haïti avec moyen qui gagne Haïti pour ta faire comme ça. Donc si nous mon petit Jean gagne de le tête moi terre, m'a tendé nos oreilles et puis l'autre là m'a travailler avec parents qui Haïti yo. Donc si l'homme résumé si manque épice, l'homme résumé si manque épice soit ajouté yo. Et thank you very much for that.
We appreciate you, Evelyn. Because one thing that I'm saying, I have a lot of people too that's like, oh, why is it not in English only? And I just want to remind you guys too, it's the same way too, speaking English. They don't understand as well the same way. At least we're going back and forth mostly in English, but we want to make sure our families are getting the best that they can. So that's why we're not all English, okay? So pour ajouter dans ça, Evelyn te dit pour Natasha, et juste pour montrer, parce que plusieurs fois, nous jouons ensemble avec parents, and these parents are like, oh my God, I don't have no teaching background. How this is so expected for me to do homeschooling. How am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to get all the because I know there are different books that you're getting. There's all these different things. Okay, we're going to get to this. How you manage to get this curriculum going for your son. Let's get to this before we go to since this question popped into my head, before we go into like a daily not activity, a daily homeschool day. How did you manage to get to know what you need to do? And I know he was like right out of preschool. He did 6 months within the preschool. Now we're going to forward to kindergarten, and we go first grade, and he's doing so well, like with all these changes that's being made to his curriculum. How did you end up finding out all these things?
With him, I just kind of pay attention to where he is. Some years look different than others. When
Mhm.
he did the 6 months of kindergarten before I pulled him out of school. That year it didn't exist to me because there was no expectations of him. He was
Mhm.
there solely for babysitting purposes. And so it was important for me to use that secondary part of the 6 months of kindergarten year to redo kindergarten myself. So it was just essentially going over the ABCs. And at first, my mistake was trying to duplicate what the school system was doing. That triggered him, that
Mhm.
sent him into higher anxiety because
Hold
I
on one second, Natasha. This is so good. I want to make sure our Haitian Creole speaker understand this thing. Moi, te pose Natasha question, comment que l'elle te commencé à bay petite li leçon la Kylie? Est-ce que te gen en façon que te cherché connaît comment l'école a fonctionné? Et puis, il te dit comme ça que l'été allé garder Timoun nan niveau que l'été a pour rencontrer le niveau. Oui, Timoun nan te fait 6 mois avant que l'été commencé kindergarten nan, mais l'été commencé à aller pour le capable faire ça l'école là à faire, il pas vraiment aider Timoun nan, ça le fait trigger qu'il te trigger Timoun nan. Qui pas yon bon bagay pour lui et ça fait que l'été allé pour chercher l'autre façon pour aider Timoun ça. Yveline, ba konnen sou vle additionner. Ou soumute.
Premier 6 mois, petit di fè lan kindergarten nan, se 6 mois la kay babysitter l tourne. Et Natasha dit, le prend li retire dans kindergarten nan koun el commence avec, c'est comme si lui même li dit et elle te fait, li te commence avec la structure l'école yo fait. Donc il était commencé au début ABC et puis li ouais que petit lan peut-être gen comportement c'est pas ça le besoin et tant que Natasha dit que li vin fait le Jean pas li pas dupliquer ça l'école en fait façon pas. Et pendant Natasha dit ça qui rappelle que nous même nan fait recherche cap garder tant qu'on Montessori méthode par exemple et nous ouais de proverbe qui dit que si ti moun nan dans système d'école là li pas ka apprendre gens ou structurer l'école là ou ka toujours apprendre ni éduquer la façon parle. Donc c'est ça Natacha fait dans petite conversation nous, li dit nous que l'apprendre contre petite. Nous connaît parents pas gen meilleur monde qui konti moun que ou même. Donc nous ka avec formation parents Haïti k'ap tande nous. Avec formation pas nous prend, nous ka meilleur professeur ti moun nou yo.
Yes, absolutely. So when I started, there was a time period where we didn't even acknowledge academics because what he needed was social emotional repair. We had to repair the damage that was done to him. We put books aside for that year. We focused on art. We focused on reading illustrated books that dealt with emotions. And we would look at the character and say, this character is feeling sad. He's feeling sad because why? And help him to connect those dots. And in repairing his social emotional state, we grew and learned how to communicate with one another. When he was visibly upset and he didn't have the words to communicate, I would have him repeat after me, I'm mad because XYZ. And over time, he started memorizing my phrases so he could use it back to me. And that was the first year. It was social emotional work. There were meltdowns 4 or 5 times a day. And we stopped everything. We sat down, we did meditation, and we did affirmations. I'm important. I'm smart. I'm amazing. We had to repair everything that was torn down. And that was the first year. So if you think that you're going to need all these books and all these things, all you need is you and your acceptance and your understanding of your child and your patience. That's what you need to start off. So before you jump into the books and all the academics things, repair them.
Can
Repair
I,
them.
Natasha, can I change that part for the parent? Natasha di
Absolutely.
yon bagay la paran, bon, moi-même koun yon ba jen ekri anko. Natasha di yon bagay la paran, premier année yo, ki sa l fait, pas fait aucun an académique, apprendre compter, li fait réparation sociale, émotionnelle. Et puis, Natasha dit comme ça que t'es un pile meltdown, nous connaissons, un pile crise, un pile et surcharge sensorielle. 3-4 fois, peut-être par jour. Et Natasha dit tout, pendant un an, pendant la fait réparation sociale, émotionnelle, il fait méditation, il fait affirmation. Nous toujours conseillons une parents, si vous yoga is a good thing. Et puis, Natasha dit, yo apprendre connaît yo. Yo apprendre une connaît l'autre, connexion une connaît l'autre à travers affirmation. Et affirmation work parent. Donc, moi, je voulais dire nous ça, nous toujours dit nous, acceptation, unconditional love. C'est tout ça qui est en méditation, qui est en affirmation, et puis n'a pas de progrès. Nous, ouais, Natasha, sous TikTok, n'a pas connexion, sa parent, li important. Nous, gen aujourd'hui, nous finissons de Natasha, là, nous dit nous pral faire. Mais ça qui est important, c'est connexion avec Timon. Li très, très important. Li prend un an pour faire réparation émotionnelle, sociale, pour là, côté li jodi, pour ka vin chita parler avec nous, pour nous-mêmes, nous ka dupliquer ça le fait à petit client pa nous. Nous devons ajouter ça pour parents.
Merci, Evelyn. And one other thing that I like when you focus into that repairing that damage, and you mentioned that in earlier how you said he was going to school, it was like he was going to a babysitter, and we know what babysitting means is just someone is just there to watch you. So knowing that the child now feels like, okay, now my mom believes that I'm smart, I believe that I'm smart too, you know. And like you say, affirmation plays a big part, and we don't find these things you know, in school, and we don't blame the teachers because they don't have the time to do all these things, and you know, a lot of them are not even getting paid enough to do all these things. So best they can do is best they can do. I know there are some great teachers out there too that, you know, help out and do whatever they want, but just knowing that you're able to do that in the comfort of your home with your son and giving him the time, having a meltdown, because a lot of times we hear parents, one thing is, oh, your kid has a meltdown, we had him to go in the quiet room, and we know what that means in the quiet room, you know, and that child can be themselves, you know, in the house. So I'm so happy that you share that with us. You know, bah, que m'te dit, m'remen, du fait que il parlait de réparation émotionnelle qu'il fait ensemble avec Simon, et puis affirmation, ça dit que petit li intelligent, et petit li même croit que les mêmes li intelligent, parce qu'un pile fois, oui, il y a un bon professeur de yo, et professeur ba même gen temps même pour faire assez, et ça nous même nous capable faire la caille là, parce que yo gon bon l'autre Simon, et puis ba même payer assez, mais connaît que ou même ou ka fait li, et puis des fois on prend Simon ça, yo dit al mettre l'autre petit côté, et pour yo capable, yo dit ça quiet room, yo relé en chambre pour capable payer. Et comme ça, yo relé la chambre. Moi, même ça qui a passé. So, m'te dit que moi, t'ai apprécié et ça, que le te dit, parce que là qu'on focus dans l'émotionnel là, pile fois c'est là ça ti moun capable de plus de ça que le capable faire, parce que li ouais que ou care pour lui-même et ou envie aider lui que toute la sainte journée et l'école là, hey, moi besoin pour écrire ça, moi besoin pour dire tel bagage ça, et puis tu pas vraiment ouais émotionnel.
On devrait ajouter pour un parent demander qui ça quiet room. En général, bon, ici, nous dit quiet room ou bien sensory room. C'est là nous parler de ça déjà dans l'émission. Les gon surcharge sensorielle. Peut-être ou gen droit à fond tap travail puis ti moun a besoin de gon surcharge sensorielle et puis vin gen meltdown. So l'école ici, le gon meltdown, yo prend ti moun a mettre dans quiet room nan. C'est ça lié ou même parent qui connecté à ti moun qui connaît ou ka mieux gérer meltdown ti moun nan. On devrait ajouter ça.
All right, we have a question for you. This is from Malay. She said, Natasha, please share the list of the books you use. And I know, Natasha, you can send them to me. I will put them, whatever you can think of. What I'll do is I'll put them on the live. And then, you know, I can even share them personally with Malay without no problem. So no pressure trying to figure out.
No. Okay, well, first and foremost, we don't use any particular curriculum. I design everything for him. And I mean that in the sense of the way we started our number one tool and your number one curriculum is going to be illustrated children's books. The pictures give them a sense of what's happening. The words you can read to them, they can follow along, and then you can help them understand how to read. But the social emotional aspect of illustrated children's book is something that nothing else will give you. There's not a curriculum that will give you what that can. So if I know that I would like to teach him about bees, then what I'll do is I will find as many illustrative children books that I can about bees. One about their jobs and how they pollinate flowers. And from there, you can teach them, because bees pollinate flowers, we have fruit. So now you can get a book about fruit. And now you can teach them from A to Z the different fruits there are. You can point out, this fruit is red, this fruit is round, this fruit can be baked into a pie. You start expanding more as the years go by. And so it started off with a little tiny thing about bees when he was younger, but now that he's 10, it's expanded to understanding how we grow our food, how our foods end up in the supermarket, how nutrition affects our bodies, and how we can cook and prepare our foods. And now he's learning to eat. So you're going to start off with a pebble and you're going to reach a mountain at some point. Are you okay? No, I'm a crybaby. I can't handle it.
and that's why we need informations out. And it's okay, Evie. Okay, I'm sending you some virtual hugs, okay? Because I know she's been through a lot, herself, and as mom too, we have been through a lot. Et Evelyn, pas de problème, ok? C'est émotion ça. Est-ce qu'on peut ça me dire là que nous parler pour nous capable parler? Parce que quand pile fois, et parents, yo connaissent que c'est livre là simplement pour yo apprendre, pour suivre tout règlement dans le livre là. Et Jean Natasha dit, je la parlé, c'est toute connexion que liée. Connexion. Si nous pas apprendre de abeille, ok, n'a pas apprendre de abeille, et abeille là, nous allons regarder que lui-même et comment que lui aller, et puis tout lui prend pour lui dans fleurs, et puis de fleurs ou aller pour connaître de fruits ou aller différents fruits. Est-ce que il y a là qui ont tout ça sont connexion que lié parce que on va suivre ensemble avec Timonio. Et bien content qu'on dit ça. Because a lot of the times what happens is, especially in our community, we want so much of the children, but not realizing, okay, let's take the time so we can go and connect everything with them. And when you make that connection, you get so much more from them.
Yeah, and you repeat it with every book, with every lesson, with everything. You bring it back to socially, emotionally understanding themselves, and then being vigilant of their community. Who are these people? What are they doing? How are they helping us? How is this going to help me in my life? You know?
Yeah, that's amazing. You ready, Evelyn?
It's a moment.
Well, Natasha choisit éduquer petite li la vie. That's life. Ou prend Jean le dit, ou commencer exemple on abeille qu'elle sous fleur, pollen, fleur développé en fruit, pas vrai? Fruit en développé gain plusieurs couleurs fruits. C'est comme ça la prend petite kounyan qui fruit qui sort café avec yo. Ensuite kounyan la pas avancer dans éducation qui valeur nutritionnelle et fruit yo. Kounyan la préparation manger. So Natasha inclut tant qu'on toujours dit nous parents c'est everyday life nous prend pour nous éduquer petite nous. Donc ti moun nan li fait sens pour lui. C'est pas juste prendre livre tant que c'est dit ou li moi même. Si nous t'es capable toujours t'a dit si m'te ka aller back moi gon ti moun qui jeune qui autistique m't'a choisi homeschooling. Moi pense c'est meilleure façon pour nous éduquer ti moun yo. Nous pas dit professeur qui l'école yo nous pas jamais suspendre remercier yo pour travail yo fait à petit nous but moi penser homeschooling c'est meilleure forme éducation pour ti moun yo qui dans spectrum là. Et Natasha quoi parler, Natasha éduquer petit li et la vie, ça veut dire step by step. Son chaîne la vie, son chaîne lié, maillon par maillon, ti moun nan vin gon meilleure notion, une meilleure compréhension de manger la manger, hein, de manger qui la maquette là, de s'il manger ça comment le capable faire bien tel fruit. Donc
Et pas oublier tout, moun nan communauté là, qui rôle moun sa nan communauté a.
exactement.
Et parce que là bien regardé, nous pas là tout le temps et faut nous habituer ti moun yo pour yo connaître tout bagay ça yo. Et quand pile moun capte de là, Evelyn peut-être yo connaît depuis c'est homeschooling ti moun arrêté la caillou. And we're gonna get to that
Oh oui,
go lot lot bay nou ta don lot met li di depuis on ti moun homeschool li pas social at all. So
nous allons prendre chapitre ça avec Natasha, mais date pas cross my mind parce que homeschooling là tout, li gon paquet l'autre bagay là-dedans, premier bagay discipline, ou qu'on est fort commencer journée à 9h, pas di monter à 2h du matin parce que t'es sur Netflix ou lever à 11h. Gen discipline, li gon paquet l'autre bagay là-dedans tout, but for me personally, I always think this is the best way to educate our children. If we can afford it, moi penser c'est un meilleur choix, sous ici tout cas afford that, et parents en Haïti, ça c'est un porte ouvert pour nous, parce que tout petit monde yo qui fait 2 ans, chita pas à l'école yo tout yo régressé. Au niveau comportement et tout, ça parents qui vivent en Haïti, c'est pas un choix pour négliger. C'est ça me penser.
So on that topic, so now we have expanded the B, and that's why we homeschool from Monday through Thursday, 2 to 3 hours a day, depending on his emotional state. And Friday is our, say we have movie documentary day. Now I'm going to find a documentary or a movie about bees. He's going to watch that. Or the following week, we always plan a field trip. So we're not just sitting at home. We plan a field trip. We can go to a nursery. We can see all the different plants, all the different fruits. We can visit a fruit stand. We can visit a farmer's market. We're going to set aside a budget to practice purchasing. He now is going to have an interaction with the person at the farmer's market. Here is X amount of money. This is the change I'm going to receive. And now you have change. What would you like to do with your change? Because you've done such a good job. You've worked so hard. You would like ice cream. Let's get strawberry ice cream. The strawberries were pollinated by bees. And that's how you bring it all together. We're not just at home. We're always in the community. Our children deserve to be out in the community. The community needs to learn to accept our children. If they're having a meltdown, so what? Yes. Your priority is not their comfort. You handle your child. You help them. You teach them out in the community, and others will have no choice but to receive them. Because, baby, you're going to receive my baby.
I love that. Your priority is not their comfort. This is the key. And just listening to you, making that connection, and I know a lot of parents, especially our Haitian parents, that's all they think. Homeschooling, okay, I'm gonna have to do all these hours. Just hearing you say, okay, 2 to 3 hours, that's all it's needed. On Monday to Thursday, we go in the community, we're connecting. That means like this lesson you're learning, let's connect it, let you see it. And a lot of our children, they're visual. They want that, not like being on a paper, but they want to connect to it. And it's so amazing just hearing this, because now a lot of people I know, like myself, have different concept, because I didn't know it was like that myself. I was like, oh, I gotta have geography books. I have to have this book here, this book there. And I'm so glad that you are here with us, Evelyn.
Well, thank you, Natasha. Natasha, apprendre moi-même qui dit nous que m'tap dit nous ça que m'gon jeune adulte la kay moi tant kou l'école yo move forward là ti moun gradué le passé and then le ti moun sorti gon paquet bagay li pa connaît et m toujours a fait partie parce que le ti moun fin gradué à 21 ans li nan mon ça dépend de level of autism li gen doit pas gen aptitude pour collège et tout ti moun nan main what are you doing est-ce que chaque matin moi-même comme parent m pas choisir chaque matin me voyer long groupe on mal chita li fait de bail manuel li tourner. So m'te tout choisi continuer partie académique là et m'te fait tant que Natasha dit. Mais qu'on y a li un adulte li en peinture moins faire comme ça, but thank you Natasha, moins apprendre de bagay m'ka corriger moi-même, l'éducation petite moi m'a continuer, académique connecté avec la vie de tous les jours, parce que ils sont professionnels, ils fait peinture, la banque, et tout qu'on y a comment pour me connecter tout ça yo, pour le garder une meilleure notion de tout ça de la vie. Éducation, valeur l'argent, il y a, ou, tant qu'on me dit, hein, ok, ou bon commande, faut aller poster, ensuite le recevoir l'argent, faut aller à la banque, faut aller acheter peinture et tout ça, qu'on y a comment, Natasha, ou bon mon meilleur moyen pour me connecter tout ça pour le gagner une notion, parce que de le li prendre pour son fond n'a pas sorti, en même temps li fond mais pour le gagner notion de la vie hein, pendant la éduquer et me toujours quoi moi-même personnellement me toujours quoi que li pi bon l'a éduquer tout pas aucune pression tant que Natasha dit hein, il travaille à petite li 2 à 3 heures de temps ça dépend par jour du lundi au vendredi parents haïtiens pas rester dans mode éducation longtemps faut chita 8 heures pour 4 heures faut faire tel devoir jodi hein c'est un petit coup ça Natasha dit hein parents qui gen moun k'ap tande la qui gon ti jan connaissance de méthode Montessori hein li inclut tout méthode Montessori hein ti moun na apprendre as his own pace et puis tout ou connaît que gon ti moun qui lan spectrum nan gen meltdown le gen surcharge sensorielle you know when to stop. Natasha for inspiring me to do pour me porter to do better in the way I continue educating my child and yeah même pas comme ça me dit Natasha et I'm sure we're gonna keep in touch et m'chita là me dit well tout le monde cap tande yo nous ka dupliquer ça Natasha fait.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nous ka dupliquer and I think comme si moi ouais nous pas qu'à dire pas yo toujours dit moi ouais perfection entre guillemets pas grand parfait mais moi ouais c'est sûr et certain gen de jours crier gen de jours décourager gen de jours perdu patience gen ça yo n'a vinn là dans yo tout mais moi rete quoi c'est meilleure façon pour nous éduquer on ti moun qui dans spectrum.
And that's the beauty, what you just said. First of all, I'm still learning. I'm always learning because I will always seek to have a PhD in my son because I am always learning him. But what you said about some days are going to be meltdowns and only social emotional days. Some days are going to be you lose your patience. And those are the biggest lesson days that you might not think. Those are the days when you realize the most about yourself. Because when I do lose my patience, I realize how much of a cycle I've broken. I come from a Haitian household. There's no I'm sorry for anything.
Yeah.
And so for me to sit my son down and say, I harmed you. It wasn't intentional. I lost my patience. It's not okay. It's not okay for me to speak to you like that. It's not okay for anyone outside of here to speak to you like that. And I need you to recognize that and hold me accountable. And so I'm sorry. Can you accept my apology? And so in doing that, I have healed my inner child. This is not a skill that I was ever given, but it's a gift that I can give to him so that no one will ever speak to him in a way, treat him in a way, handle his body in a way that he should ever accept. So those are your biggest lesson days because you think that it's about academics. It's not. It's about preparing them for life, demanding respect, and having themselves feel valued and valuable and know that they are deserving of respect from everybody, including me, his mom. And now he says to me when he sometimes I don't pick up on it. And sometimes he'll say, he calls me put in love. So he'll come to me and says, put in love, do you want to apologize to me? And I'm like, well, what did I do? Now I'm thinking back, like, oh gosh, okay, did I miss it? And so
Mhm.
I would think back and say, well, do you think that I raised my voice in this instance? And he'll say yes or no, or he'll help me to connect the dots. So now we've switched roles. Now he's the parent and I'm the student, and I'm trying to be a detective and figure out where I went wrong, what I did. And he's not afraid to tell me, you did
Mhm.
this, you hurt my feelings. And that's what I need, because now we've expanded academics to self advocacy. And
Yes.
that is going to be his biggest tool that he will need to fight with.
And I remember when we were having this conversation, but I don't want to get this out. You see this, I know I asked, but you see the people are asking, great show, ladies. Natasha, please come back.
I'll be back anytime. I'll be here.
So we are so glad that you are here. And just as I mentioned, I remember when we had this conversation that I'm sorry, and
Mhm.
coming from a Haitian household, it's so difficult, and we have to do better. We have to teach our kids better, because they tell us, they tell us, because we tell them, we teach them to advocate for themselves. And sometimes myself too, I'm holding back, and I'm like, what? But I was like, yeah, I did teach you to, stand up, and making sure that, when people are doing certain things to you, that you voice your opinion out and let them know. And there are many times I find myself in those situations, and I just like, come here, I'll give you a hug, I'm so sorry, I apologize. And we need to teach our children all these different skills. And I'm glad, I know the time is running out, but avant que nous allions, une bagay que moi connais Natasha te dit pour moun yo, moi connais un pile moun di kon sa, pas parler créole, qui ça qui passé. But I have one question too. I don't want to go without asking you this. Et you n'a pas que dit c'est excuser, parce que un pile fois nous aussi dans famille haïtienne, you n'a pas que nous pas faire c'est dire excuser, nous pas aller vers parents qui dit excuser ensemble avec nous, parce que même yo pas lever avec parents. Et sur ça nous a essayer écraser lui, spécialement pendant que nous a bail ti moun yo leçon la caille là, et pas pédé bail pour apprendre bail livre, parce que nous oh ti moun autistique, faut l'intelligent, faut dire m'a parlons paquet livre, et puis tout nous quitter l'autre bagaille yo, et une bagaille que li fait c'est dire excuser. Des fois dites li kon vin côté li dit comme ça, ou besoin et apologize pour dire moi pardon, et pour sortir faible dans des fois elle va même connaître qui ça lié, so l'obligé chita pour la figurer qui ça que te fait pour le capable et dire excuse ensemble avec petite li. So ça vraiment vraiment important. Et ça va aller pour simplement parents qui ont petit monde qui ont autisme même genre avec nous. Mais en général, même là son parents qui pas petit monde qui autiste, li bon pour excuser tête parce que pas tout le temps parents et les mêmes qui right all the time. That's what we think. We're parents, we right all the time. That's two things that I know. I always say. Always ask the kid for their opinion, okay? Gen moun ki di kon sa, oh, e blanc, e pas blanc. Because
Mhm.
therefore, they font décision, li pa la avec si moun yo. Et plusieurs fois, you can say yourself that your parents had made a decision and you are not comfortable, but you did it anyways. But if we have that conversation with them, you can support them in making a decision. That's not what I'm saying. You can't do that, but at the same time, involve them. And that's one thing we want to talk about. But Evelyn, I know you have a lot of things. One thing
Um,
while Evelyn's gonna talk, but I want you to think about this. One thing that I have from a parent is like, how am I gonna do this? I'm not financially stable to do this, because I'm guessing this parent think like, oh, I have to take a whole time, and the way that you put it through, that's the financial aspect that I'm seeing a lot of parents. They probably saying, thinking that, oh, maybe your husband just work, you don't work at home and stuff. I know it's a little bit personal, but just think of that aspect while Evelyn's gonna add some stuff.
aspect ça, merci, si, aspect que ou la caille ou gen doit soit travail ou gen latéral pour faire. Et puis toujours dit on pas besoin paquet l'argent. Gen de website ou aller que nous pas autisme favor n'a partager avec nous, on mettre le sous nous connaissons pas faut partager hein, but na will do soit aller sur page autisme favor na gen de link, gen de bagay ou ka imprimer ou bien copier gratuitement de livres ou copier. Ça me dit Natasha dit on bagay là, Natasha dit que petit li gen de leur kon dit comme ça que ya ou te ou d'avem faut excuser ou. Nous connaît en général nous même qui levé lan parents haïtiens, grand moun nan dit nous font bagay même le nous ba pas bon pour nous. Petit moins grand moun moins dou fait bagay là. Nous pas gen pour nous rendre compte grand moun pas excusé yo. Et nous connaît longtemps qu'on a dit grand moun n'a pas son gaz c'est pour dire grand moun n'a pardon. Mais comment le payer? Donc et nous lever à ça donc l'anti moun vinn dit nous excuser nous presque le nous old school yo nous presque connaissons sur l'autre planète nous y. Mais ça nous pas comprendre ba yo changer le ti moun vinn nous excuser pas oublier c'est pas ou seulement qu'a parler mal à ti moun qu'a fait non bagay wrong sou pas si li vinn nous excuser li zou men so fait ou excuser ou c'est un bon bagalier c'est pas un mauvais bagalier c'est pas ti moun de respectant parce que ou pas prendre ti moun camper pour tête li tout self advocacy Natasha mentionné parce que j'en parlais on ti moun pendant qu'on là macaque tête cochue guess what ou pas excuser ou bien relais sous li relais sous li guess what le saut dehors n'importe mon après relais sous li la penser tout normal donc c'est ça pour apprendre si moun nan camper pour tête li son bagay c'est un petit bagay ça parents nous ka ouais au minimum pour commencer faire ti moun apprendre pour fond l'autre comprendre ou pas capable avec comme ça ou pas ka traiter comme ça apprendre petite nous dit non pour connaître pour gon notion pour connaître comment pour camper pour tête li pour call tout pas oublier ça parce que ti moun n'ont pas quelque notion peut-être nous ka ouais entre guillemets ou ka naïf pas son l'autre gen notion pas connaît n'a vivre l'on monde qui est plein malade là-dedans donc le nous apprendre si moun nous camper pour dire nous fait tel bagay qui pas bon li mène un paquet côté parce qu'on moun pas ka dit si moun vini men non dans chambre ça vinn chita sous moi déshabiller pour moi ou bien bon calotte et puis mri tout ça est important pour self advocacy que ti moun nan tout autant commencer ça pi bonheur li pi bon Natasha en mille dit faut retourner Natasha parce que moi toujours parler de homeschooling vaguement moins li sous li et me toujours dit le m'a regarder petit même toujours dit c'est ça pour parents qui ont besoin spécial c'est meilleure forme éducation hein, pour parents merci que vous inspirez me connaître comment pour me faire de bagaille parce que gain de l'homme contre un sujet avec nous lion bagaille nous passer sous li et puis malon l'autre gain de l'homme moins oublier faire connexion yo moins oublier faire connexion yo si pour faire peinture faut aller acheter 10 faut commander 10 faut exposer m'oublier faire connexion yo merci Natasha pour aujourd'hui hein moi gen ti rappel en tant que parent moi a profiter gon super parent on super advocate tout dans New York qui avait nous Lucie Antoine m'a profité dit Lucie allô même voulait attirer attention m'gen en pile par Haïti en pile éducateur jeune en Haïti k'ap tandim là ça c'est une avenue pour nous pas négliger chaque fois nous même remarquer ça là nous gonti moun qui dans spectrum non après vacances sous pas continuer travailler là avec li régresser donc imaginons un petit monde qui fait 2 ans il était qu'on a l'école en thérapie il parler donc parents qui en Haïti ça sont avenus pour nous pas négliger nous pas capter genre situation que situation rangée pour petit monde à l'école donc c'est ça que je voulais ajouter
Merci.
Yes. As for your question previously, I know that a lot of people are worried about the financial aspect. And I want you to know that what we are doing is not exclusive to homeschooling. Before we started homeschooling, I was homeschooling him as a supplement to what he was receiving in preschool. We were still doing social emotional work. We were still going out in the community. We were still reading bedtime stories. Those are things that you don't, if you have your child in the public school system, you have a phenomenal team. You have a great teacher. They are doing well. You can keep them there and you can still supplement with the things that we are doing to implement help for them. If you decide to homeschool, you could work around your schedule. My husband, I had to stop working because I worked full time. I was bringing my son with me in the beginning when I pulled him out, unsure of what I was going to do. I was working in home with autistic adults, and it became a decision on whether I was going to give this person's child all of me and let my son be in the experience he was experiencing, or if I was going to sacrifice what I needed to in order to be that for him. And there was no comparison. but that's not everybody's reality. Some people have aunts, uncles, grandparents, community. If you have that and you need to work, allocate tasks to other people so that they could help. Use your community. Go out into the library. The libraries are free. Get your child a library card. Read books with them. Educate them on going out in the community, and use your resources and everyone who is around you. Bring in cooking, cleaning, dressing, toileting skills, showering their bodies, providing them the tools they need to care for their physical body, their mental health, and their social emotional state. There are ways. Some people homeschool at night after they come from work. Some people homeschool only on the weekends. Some people homeschool a few times a month and then take 3 to 4 weeks off and then homeschool again throughout the entire year. Some people don't use traditional books. Some people travel the world and go to different countries and show their kids daily life in those places. Homeschooling is whatever you design it to be. It doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to look like what you traditionally think. Remove from your mind what you think homeschooling is, and you can design it to be whatever it is that your child needs at that moment.
Awesome. Customize it to your
Yeah,
own family
absolutely.
need. That's what I get it. Nan bagay ke mte pose question ensemble avec Natasha et parti financement parce que nous connaissons grand pile parents qui a dit OK financièrement est-ce que je capable kembe à bay ti moun leçon la kay moi et li gen rapport à gens que vous voulez faire là pile nan nous penser académiquement Natasha dit lui même li te quitté travail li parce que au commencement l'elle te retiré petite là dans l'école là c'est tout le temps parce que t'a travaillé avec des adultes et la caillou pour t'a travailler ensemble avec eux t'es obligé prendre ti moun ça pour aller ensemble avec lui c'est ça fait que ou connaît l'on travail et ou mener petit tout et pas tout le monde capable accepter ça qu'on y a obligé venir et puis rester directement ensemble avec ti moun ça son décision que le te prend parce que le te veut pas ti moun tout lui-même mais parents ça va veut dire que ou même si que ou travail ou doit utiliser communauté ou ti moun nan gen tonton gen cousin en pile fois nous même parents nous pas vle demander pour aide nous pas vle dire help me qui sont bagay k'ap touye nous en pile mais nous capables gen moun frère sœur et grands-parents en environnement nous qui capable aider nous ou capable faire bay ti moun nan leçon parce que lui même l'état bay ti moun nan leçon malgré ti moun nan l'école parce que l'el ti moun nan t'a vini gen bagay parce que nous connaît pas tout bagay a montré dans l'école là gen bagay l'état montrer li pendant que ti moun nan saute l'école là c'est juste qui additionner plus dans ça et yon l'autre bagay que moi voulais ajouter c'est gardez ça qui marche pour vous. Gen parents qui fait ça dans week-end, yo prend yo bâti mon yo leçon. Gen parents yo prend 2-3 semaines yo fait et puis toute l'autre semaine là yo quitter ensemble avec les si yo veut ou continuer le travail, nous pas vle parce que nous connaissons son pays et tête chargé plein bill là dans li ou comprendre nous pas dire comme si vous mettez et peut-être en difficulté mais n'a montre différents moyens qu'on capable faire pour capable aider petit tout plus. Est-ce que nous pas gen ti moun nan gen ou capable ouais Natasha là capable dire oh petit li assemble pas gen meltdown. Ti moun sa ti moun parfait ou capable aller même ou regarder because I know we had that conversation ou regarder this TikTok côté que nous met TikTok là Instagram ou dit oh regardez je ti moun n'a pas prendre tout bagage ça mais tout bagage parfait non gen l'autre partie de lui même dans tout même bagage à traverser à la traverser c'est juste li gen plus soutien li capable bay petit li. So Natasha, it's such a pleasure because I know the time is running out, but this conversation was so good. We cannot wait to have you again because I think like my people in Haiti said very interesting. We parents in Haiti, we need that a lot. So I think they're calling out for you to come out.
I'll be here. I'm here.
You know, l'an dernier parole Natasha avec Sissi, un mot qui retenu, attention, tailored. C'est ça, il est sur mesure. L'on parlait de AIP, par exemple. Un AIP tailored, il fait sous mesure pour petit Paul seulement.
And that's
forme
the thing.
éducation, et forme éducation, ça Natasha choisi, li tailored. Ça veut dire, moi, je dois choisir, mais c'est pour petit moyen seulement. Donc, qui ça l'orgon couturier particulier qui font rad pour vous? Qui c'est l'orgon? So, mais comment, c'est comme si bagalan fit pour ti moun non seulement, ou connaît petit tout, ou connaît comment qui ça pour appliquer pour homeschool li. Parents en Haïti, moi-même si m'étais en Haïti, bon, c'est ça m't'a fait. Parents en Haïti, ça c'est une avenue, son choix pour nous pas négliger. Nous gen droit pas qu'à faire dans le travail, mais peut-être mettre ensemble sous quartier nous ou bien le voisinage là. Gen droit c'est nous pendant notre travail puis son l'autre monde k'ap fait ou bien tout gon l'autre bagay si dit nous même en général caregiver yo, nous même dans la société haïtienne, nous toujours pas vle demander aide. You have to ask for help when you need it. Qui ça qui plus ça qu'arriver? Nous demander aide là, dit nous non, nous pas mourir. N'a continuer avancer, continuer frapper jusqu'à ce que gon monde qui ouvert pour nous.
As you said, and I always say that joke to everyone who will listen, I am the IEP. You're looking at it. And so when you become the IEP, you don't need to worry about anything because say there's what they need right now is to learn how to manually brush their teeth. Add it to the curriculum. That's what you're going to work on. They need to learn how to wipe themselves. That's what you'll work on. How to scrub their bodies, how to cook right now, because we have expanded his palate in trying new foods. Now I'm planning a 6-month cooking class with him. When you cannot find the programs that you're looking for, use your IEP, which is you, to design it for them. So we are going to learn to cook together, and he will learn to try new foods. So whatever academics you think needs to be in place is not it. You know what your child needs right now, and become their IEP and create those things for them.
All right, Natasha, thank you so much for all your advice. I mean, like I said, you have to come back because there's so many questions that I got. We didn't have time to get it, but I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time. But before we leave, just wanted to give the floor to you, whatever advice that you would like to give to any parents that wanna join that road, that journey of homeschooling their child on the spectrum.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. My main advice is for you to learn every aspect of your child. And what you'll be surprised most on this journey is how much you learn about yourself, how little you realize that you might not be self-regulating or self-expressing, or being able to recognize things within yourself that you need to work on. So when you're giving lessons to your child, you will realize that you're giving lessons to yourself too. I should have more patience. I should be more understanding. I should hear him, really hear him. Listen to full body communication. Respect all aspects of communication, whether they're limited, whether they use AAC, whether they're non-speaking, whether they use gestures. Be respectful of all of those communications and just be their advocate, but also learn everything you can about yourself so that you can show up better and better every day. And soon you will see how much growth takes place within your relationship. It's a beautiful journey, and I hope that you, if you're brave enough to take it, that you have great experiences too.
All right. Evelyn, you there? Wrap it up for us. I know you.
Ça pas arrive souvent comme speechless. Nous tellement gen bagay pour me dire, me perdu la parole. Ça nous connaît dans affaires autisme, ça pas arrive souvent. Parents nous dit nous parler déjà, nous parler tant que nous connaît ça IEP1, AIP qui ont programme qui fait sur mesure pour petit ouan. Natasha dit lui-même c'est li ka IEP petit li. Et c'est comme ça ta cahier pour tout parent tant que nous toujours dit pas gen moun qui compte petit ouan mieux pas ça. Et puis tout, nous même parents haïtiens nous toujours oh li pas parler, qui la petite la parler. C'est pas important, tant comme nous toujours dit tout, il y a plusieurs formes de communication. Body language. Pas oublier, si moun yo sensation affecté, mais yo sensitive. Yo très sensible. Le ti moun nou pas content, que le verbal, que le pas verbal, nous ouais ça. Tant comme toujours dit, nous leur remet au moun. Ou qu'on le moun n'a pas content, le content, le énervé sans pas besoin de parler. Donc, c'est connexion ça pour gagner, respect ça pour gagner. Pour comprendre petit tout, quel que soit moyen là pour exprimer nous en tout. Et puis Natacha dit un bagay que moi même toujours dit. Et gon bagay aurait patience, mot ça pas exister dans vie. Autisme fait me connaît ça aurait patience. En même temps que wap éduquer petit là, si moun nan wap éduquer ou pour c'est sûr et certain jusqu'à présent on ti moun qui dans le spectre de l'autisme aider un parent au meilleur moun.
That's right.
So that's why I would add. Gen parents qui te dit comme ça que et système internet là gen lete gon ti glitch, qui coupe un petit moment, moun sa yo qui sous Zoom là nous connaît que n'a pas retrouver programme ça sous page Black Autism Coalition, page Facebook li, et puis YouTube n'a retrouver sous page Autism Favona et tout, et te gen l'autre moun non l'autre groupe qui pas gagné pour la éducation. Nous te partager le monde ça yo, gen qui reach out to nous, gen une là peut-être Stéphane qui pas réussi qu'attendait nous bien connecter avec nous, Stéphane al keep in touch, Stéphane gen un parent qui dans le spectre de l'autisme, Stéphane a vivre en Haïti, et Stéphane c'est un jeune, li dit que li aider l'autre ti moun dans affaire éducation pendant situation en Haïti comme ça, et li t'a remet fait ça pour ti moun qui dans le spectre de l'autisme. Donc Natasha, nous merci parce que aujourd'hui on inspiré me gen un effort gon bagay pour me faire différemment et gen plus effort pour me faire. Thank you, and I'm sure li unanime que you will be back.
Absolutely.
Et me vle
More and more.
More.
passant me vle dire une grosse salutation tout pour Madame Montbleur. Madame Montbleur son parent qui un jeune adulte qui gen autisme qui vivre en Haïti. Li pas jamais lagué ça, tant qu'on nous toujours dit, li toujours 11 épaules pour l'autre parent. Régine, merci d'être là. Donc,
Oui.
au moins, sinon, m'a commencé à crier. Merci, Natacha. Merci, Sissi.
Oui, nous remercions Millet, Josette et nous avons Régine, ou te dit ça déjà, Philomène, tout le monde ça a été monté ensemble avec nous. Et nous connaissons qu'il y a pile monde s'est levé ou t'a pleuvé. Peut-être que c'était une longue soirée, nous sommes capables toujours, Jean-Yves Lindia, à le regarder sur Black Autism Coalition Facebook page, YouTube là, Autism 509. Par un côté, nous partageons tout côté, ou a bien accès ensemble avec. Encore, thank you so much, Natasha. We hope to see you at least monthly. Come back monthly.
Absolutely.
Our community, especially in Haiti, that's going through so much right now, they need whatever support that they can get. And we see by the comments that are coming either on my phone, Evelyn's phone, and also on Facebook as well. Merci à tout le monde qui était branché ensemble avec nous. We really appreciate everybody that shared this live. We really thank you for all the wonderful work that you are doing. We'll see you guys later. Bye.